They would not disappear, but they would slow down extremely. And this is probably 3 times after they come to the house. Uh, Now they would add, it depends on how much they would ask me for. Like, hey, I gotta pay for this for school, and it might be $50, whatever. I would help her out just because it's women are gonna cost you somehow. It just depends on if you're just paying for it directly. And to be vulgar with you, I'm not promoting pay for play at all because they're not gonna be as wet when it's pay for play. Let's just say that, right? But they're gonna expect you to help them somewhat because in these other countries men still provide. So what they'll do in Kenya, right, if you're not going to help them out, they may still come over and kick it with you, but they're not going to be around the way how you want them to. Yeah, they might go from being with you, 3 times a week to once a month. To start with, let's start with the easy one, which is game, right? If you follow AMS, he's taught you some game, and I love his videos, but I'm just calling it what it is. If you follow his videos, he's talked about how you should have 2 to 5 minutes in between texts. In most countries, don't do that shit. Don't just if you see the text, you can respond to it. They're not gonna look at you like, oh, he must have less options because he responded in 10 seconds. Like they don't. That's a very American. Like that's an American only thing, or it's somewhere that's trying to be like America. I've noticed that. But that's that kind of game stuff, and pulling back and unnecessary. I mean, sometimes it's necessary to pull back, but unnecessarily pulling back just to get her to chase you, like you don't really have to do that. You don't. If these chicks in these other countries fuck with you, they're gonna fuck with you. Like it's really that simple. That doesn't mean you can't run them off still, but it is what it is. Tricking is the whole leading with your wallet. Your approach to her is not, hey, how are you? It's, hey, I'm going on a yacht later. Bring some of your friends, and I'm gonna buy y'all gifts and all. We're gonna do. Y'all are gonna have a good time. It's all gonna be on me. She doesn't, and this is anywhere in the world. She doesn't like you for, hey, how are you doing? You didn't say that. You started off with something you could do for her. So the minute you stop doing that, the minute she stops doing you. And you don't have to do that. I don't think you had to do that in these other countries until you start talking to chicks that are considered 9s and 10s. Like if you're in Kenya and you want to mess with one of the top tier baddest chicks in Kenya, she's already had a Nigerian chick that's fucked her mind up. So you might have to compete with that. Same thing with Paraguay. Same thing with Chile. Same thing with Colombia. There's certain chicks that have only talked to soccer players and movie stars, and they've done the tricking. Trust me.
Right.
So it depends. It depends what caliber of woman you're going after.
I just want to clarify because I said there's no Spanish or Portuguese translation for game. I'm talking about in context. Yes, there is a literal translation, but we're talking about game as far as having being able to mac. Macking is there's no translation for macking. That's an American. We have pimping and macking. That's totally different. So I just wanted to just kind of clarify that.
Well, let me say this too. Sorry to cut you off, but you have basic conversation, and it goes a long way in most of these places. But you still have to slide in some intent. Like when you can ask her, hey, how she's doing, and what does she like to do, and you like to go, I don't know, you like to go hiking, and then you say, do you want to go hiking with me, and you give her a smile. You have to show her some sort of like flirty, I want to you later on type of intention without saying that. But you have to have some sort of intent that you still use. It can't just be, because otherwise you can get friend zone worldwide. But if you don't slide that intent there, yeah. So that part is still the same, yeah. But you don't have to come up with a magic. Like when I was in Dallas, I felt like I couldn't say the right thing. Like it's like I couldn't figure out what the hell I had to say to get her to even agree to see me again.
Right. That, and you're right about that. Even in dating apps, from my experience, I can say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, beautiful, how you doing?" to any other country in the world except America and get a response. You gotta be extra creative when it comes to women in the Matrix. Now, what about cultural? Do you see? Do you see these other countries as a cultural norm for men to give women money when they ask for it? Because I see that as a cultural norm in Africa for sure. And they don't have a shaming. There's nothing. Men don't get shamed for doing that. So do you see that in culture? Have you seen that, or do you view that as a cultural norm outside of the U.S.?
It depends on where you at, right? So in Kenya, the Kenyan women say that men don't spoil them, so they'll talk to Nigerians and South African men because they do. In Tanzania, the men they do spoil the women, from what I saw. Not all of them, of course, but it is a norm from what I saw there. If you wanted to keep a woman around, that you pretty much had to, it. Now I wouldn't say buy her, but you had to please her in that way. I would say, but in Brazil, right? I went on a date with a chick I met on Bumble here in Sao Paulo, and she was like, "Yeah, can we meet at the train station?" I'm like, "Why the hell would I meet? I'm not meeting you at a train." I'm thinking she's trying to set me up. I'm like, "I'm not gonna meet you at the train station at 9 o'clock at night. I'm just not doing that. That sounds ridiculous." And she was like, "Oh, well, how am I gonna get there?" I was like, "What do you mean? I'm gonna send an Uber." She was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah. Why are you shocked to hear that? Nobody's ever sent an Uber." And it goes back to Delane from No Reservations and Fred, and I've heard them say this in their funk music here, that they don't do that. They don't send the chicks to, like, the chick has to find their way to them. And even when I first went to Rio the first time, I met a chick from Belo Horizonte, and she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll ride the bus to come see you." I was like, how far is the bus?" She's like, "It's an 8-hour bus ride. I'll try to find a ride with some friends to go down there." So I was thinking I was gonna fly her there, which is only like $150 round trip, but it depends on where you at. That's the importance of traveling. For me, traveling to all these different countries, I realized that nowhere is like America, but everywhere is not as convenient as Rio and Salvador.
Um, if a Matrix chick was listening to some of our conversations, and let's say myself or yourself, we had no problem looking out I would say one time to a chick, 10, 20, 30, $40, whatever the case may be. Now, women will say, some women will say, well, guys threw a fit for us asking them to send us money, $40 to buy us some Uber Eats or to pay for an Uber, but y'all would do that for these chicks overseas. What would your response be to that?
Yeah, because I'm getting something out of it. I'm getting sex. I'm getting good conversation. I'm getting the eye contact. I'm getting the smiles. I'm getting to have you ate today. What do American chicks? I want you to tell me what are American chicks giving you? You know what after you figure out the damn genie line that you had to come up with to get them to even give you their damn phone number. Then they don't show up on time for the date. That's gonna cost you $100 plus, and then here in Brazil it's 20 or $30. You know, then they got an attitude. We got to argue about politics. You know, then I'm expected to buy you some sort of gifts. Then I don't even know how. And you, not to mention, you're gonna give me a kiss on the cheek and tell my goofy ass goodbye. Then I don't even know how soon I should text you back. If I text you back when you get home, I'm thirsty. So for the simplicity, you're damn right I'll send her Uber Eats in Brazil, or I'll take her out to the nicest restaurant because it's cheaper, and because I feel like I'm getting something out of the deal.